So today I'm going to show you how you can get $50 for signing up with a Composer trading account. I'm also going to show you how you can use Chat GPT to create trading strategies for Composer and to modify the trading strategies with Chat GPT. So how do you get $50? If you sign up using my referral link, you can get $50 when you sign up with Composer Pro, the Pro monthly version. All you have to do is sign up, fund the account. It costs $30 a month the first month if you're paying monthly. If it's yearly, it costs a little bit less than that. You fund the account, you make one trade, and then the next, I believe it's the next month, they'll send you the $50. The benefit of Composer Pro is it allows you to do live trades using these strategies. If you don't have Composer Pro, you don't have as many features and you can't do live trading. You can only do the backtesting. So what is Composer? It's not a brokerage. It's sort of a thing that links to your brokerage, and it links only to the Alpaca brokerage. Now, you do have to have an Alpaca account to sign up, but Alpaca is free, and I believe you can actually sign up with Alpaca through Composer when you sign up. As you can see, there's a variety of strategies that you can pick from. These are strategies that people have selected, they have created. You could actually select to invest directly into it, and it'll invest right in. You can select how much you want to invest, how often, weekly, monthly, yearly, or you can backtest it, modify it. If you wanted to edit this one, you could actually hit edit. It'll open it. You can actually see how it's performed. You can see what it invests in, how it invests. So this one's pretty complicated, but if we look at the performance, we can scroll down and look at the performance. We hit play. Okay, you can see this one's had a 10% annualized return, so not the best return compared to the S&P 500, which has done a little bit better. So I'm going to look at another one. Okay, here's one, leveraged stocks and bonds. So these use leveraged ETFs to get a better performance. Now this one has done really well. Look at the performance on this one. It's so high, it's so far above the SPY, you can barely see it down there. This one goes back to 2010, leveraged stocks and bonds with the hedge. And then you can see that it's really went down a lot from 2021. It went down. So if we start doing the 1 year, right now we're at the full. If we switch to 1 year, you're going to see it didn't do so well, I think. The 1 year is minus 1.6%. Let's try 3 year. Okay, so the 3 year, it's down quite a bit too. But if we wanted to modify this or see how it works, we can select edit. Then it'll open it up here and we can actually see what it's doing. So if 10-day max drawdown of SPY, that's the S&P 500, is less than 5%, then it says risk on, and then it does 55% in UPRO, which is a leveraged S&P 500 fund. I'm not sure how far leveraged. It may be 2 times, 3 times. It's also doing a 20-year Treasury bond, TMF. I believe that's a leveraged one also. Or else it'll do, it looks like gold bonds, short-term bonds, so a bunch of different things. Okay, so what other features do they have? So there's a follow feature where you could actually share with others, or you can follow, I believe you can post your own strategy online also. Now, the ones that you invest in here under my portfolio, you'll see that I have one that it's linked up to the brokerage account where I can invest in it. You would click invest, and this is the one that's set to invest. But everything that's under create, these drafts, these are not ones that I'm investing in. These are basically ones that I can edit. I can do the backtest on. So anytime you make a copy of one of the strategies, it shows up here. Let's look at one right here. So let's look at a copy of Believe in Big Tech. Okay, this one's a little bit easier to understand. This one does a 20-day cumulative return. It selects the top 2. Now you could actually modify this if you wanted to. You could change the days of the cumulative return. You could change it from the top 2 to the bottom 2. So this is basically a 20-day trading period. It looks at all these stocks to see which ones had the greatest return, and then it selects the top 2. This is set to invest monthly. So you could actually change this from daily to weekly, and it'll change the performance also. So that's all this one does, is it selects the top 2. Now you could make it the top 3 if you wanted also. Right now it's set to monthly. And if you look at this chart here, you can see the return. So this is, if we scroll down here, you can see this goes back to to 2016 or so, and you can see it's done pretty well. It's done 691% return versus 135% for the S&P 500. You can also look at the metrics here. So there's different ratios. There's max drawdown. Now the drawdown is the difference between the peaks and the lows. So this one goes up and down more than the typical one. And you can also look here to see what it's invested in. So you can see here 5 trading days out of the 82 trading days. The ones that where there's trades, it's in blue. So it was invested in NVIDIA on the 26th, 27th, 28th. Then on May 1st, which was yesterday, it sold NVIDIA and it bought Microsoft. So it would do that automatically at 3 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. That's when the trades are executed. Now we could scroll down further and we can look. Okay, and then you can see here on January 31st, they had PayPal and Meta, and then they sold PayPal and bought NVIDIA. So you can go and see how well it's trading, or how well your script is set up by how well it's trading. If it's not set up very good, it may only be 1 day or 0 days, and you've got multiple years. Like if you look at 2020, it only traded 12 days out of the 253 days. So you could actually modify that to where it would trade more often and then see how the performance changes as a result. Now, also we can switch this to 1 year, and you're going to see the performance changes when we go to 1 year. When we switch to the 1 year return, you can see that it's still doing better than the S&P 500, but only 11.9% versus 1.9% for the S&P 500. And you can see that it's only briefly surpassed the S&P 500. The S&P 500 here until recently was actually doing better. Now we could change this. If we wanted to change the performance, we could change this from 20-day cumulative return. We could change the number on that. We could change it from top 2 to bottom 2. We could change that, or we can change this here. If we do from daily trading, the performance will probably go down. So if we try that now and we look at it, I think it was like 12%. Now it's 37%. So this actually worked out better. But let's make sure that it's on 1 year. Okay, let's select 1 year. Okay, 37% return versus 1.9 for the S&P 500. So that one did pretty well. Okay, let's look at some other ones. So under my drafts, we're going to discard changes. We're going to look at, okay, let's look at sector rotation. This one is a little bit different. This one will do if the current price of SPY is greater than the 120-day moving average of SPY, then it selects the 10-day moving average return. It selects the worst 3 performers for the 10-day, and it selects the bottom 3. So it goes through these different sectors. These are a tech sector. These are ETFs that invest in financials, healthcare, technology, staples, and it'll select the bottom 3. This is basically if the S&P 500 is going up greater than its 120-day moving average. So that means that the S&P 500 is high. Then it selects the worst performer out of the 3. If it's less than the 120-day moving average, that would be else. Then it buys the Vanguard S&P 500 fund, VOO. And if we look at the performance of this one, the performance has done okay since 2016. Okay, here's another one. This is the boring one. So this is just a bunch of sort of random stocks like trash company, waste management, a company that invests in, that makes coffins, Service Corporation International, Kroger, Pepsi, Progressive, Allstate, US Bank, General Mills, Target. Now this one is currently set to weekly invest, and it's selecting the 13-day moving average of return and selects the bottom 2. Now when we look at this one, it's done a 17.1% return, and you can see the S&P 500 is the one in red, so it's beaten the S&P 500. 216% cumulative return versus 135% for the S&P 500. And you can see that it did 18 trades in 2023. So most recently, Progressive and US Bank. Earlier in April 21st, it was Kroger and Progressive. And then you can see 2022, 52 days traded, 2021, 52. So it's trading a fair bit. It's not, one of these that trades one time a year. Now, if we change this to monthly, the return goes down to 13.2%. So let's look at another one. Okay, 3 seasons is one of the more complex ones. This is one that Composer created. This one, you can see in the description here, it'll tell you a little bit about it. Seasons come, seasons go. It's designed to maximize return and minimize drawdowns in 3 market seasons. When the market booms, when the market crashes, and when the market is in consolidation. This was developed for Composer by Anish Sharan. Okay, so this one, if the 7-day max drawdown of SPY is less than 7%, then it invests 50% in these here. However, the conditions have to be met. If the 7-day drawdown of TQQQ is less than or equal to 7%. So TQQQ is a leveraged NASDAQ 100 ETF. I believe it's 3 times leverage. If this has gone down less than or equal to 7%, then it buys financials. These are ETFs that are basically just different sectors. Otherwise, it buys the US Treasuries. And then there's also a non-leveraged equal weight. If 5-day moving average of price of ARK is less than or equal to 14-day moving average of ARK, then it selects the top 3 moving average from ARK to a bunch of these ETFs here. Otherwise, it does Treasuries, and then it keeps on going. So some of these, this is a little bit hard for me to understand. But let's look at the performance on this one. This one invested in ARK. You can see this huge peak here. This was, I think, 2020, 2021. It's gone down a little bit since then. Now, if we scroll down here, you can see this pink in here. This is 2020 during the bubble. It went up to 420% return, and then it dropped back down to below the S&P 500. So this last year or two hasn't been so good. So you can look at the return here. Let's switch over to, let's see how many days it's been trading. It traded 81 days in 2023. I believe that's 237 days. 237 days in 2022. It's traded a lot, almost every day. So let's see what happens when we change it to monthly. Okay, monthly. Now, if they've got a lot of leverage ETFs, that a lot of times they'll make the performance worse because they're not meant to be held for a long period of time. Now it's got a 7.2% return. So all of the symphonies that you've created, that's what they call the script, a symphony. They're all under drafts. If you want to create a new one, you have to go to New Symphony, and then you're left with something like this, where you can change the name here. You can create equal weight, or you can do market cap. You could select different things. You can create the block here where you can add the assets. You just put in the ticker symbol. You could do, let's say, Visa or whatever you want, and it adds it. You can also add a if-else condition. So the if-else condition, you could set it to relative strength index, cumulative return, max drawdown, a bunch of different things. So you could do relative strength index, which basically is the direction the price is moving. You could select how many days you want for that. Then you could select, let's say, QQQ, and then you could put a value. So you could say less than. If the 6-day relative strength of QQQ is less than, then you could do a fixed value of, let's say, if it's less than, let's say, 60 or 30, then you could say it's undervalued, so you're going to buy it. So you could select that. So this one here, you're saying if it's a lower price, then you're going to buy, maybe you would buy the S&P 500, or you buy a leveraged one or something. So now we could say VOO. Okay, so we've added that. Otherwise, if it's not less than 30, maybe it's going to be, you're going to think that it's expensive, so then you select something else like USFR, floating rate treasury, which is a lower risk. So you could do something like this, and then you could see what the return is. Okay, so the return on this one's not the best, 49%, but you get the idea. This is how you set it up. Okay, here's another one that I played around with. It's the buy the dips. It's a copy of buy the dips of the NASDAQ 100. So this one looks at the 5-day cumulative return of QQQ. If it's less than minus 5%, it invests in, then it also it invests in one of these, but it looks at the 1-day cumulative return of TQQQ if it's greater than 4%. Now, TQQQ is a leveraged NASDAQ 100. It's a leveraged NASDAQ 100 ETF. So if the cumulative return is greater than 4%, then it's saying that it's gone up too much already. So it buys the Wisdom Tree Floating Rate Treasury, USFR. Otherwise, it buys TQQQ. On all other cases, it buys the Wisdom Tree Floating Rate Treasury Fund. Now this one's done pretty well on the 1 year. It's done a 25% return for the 1 year. And you can see here where it's a flat line here, this is probably where it's just holding the USFR. So there's probably a long period of time where it hasn't traded. Now we have it set to daily trading. You're probably going to have to keep it at daily because it's got the leveraged. It only traded 6 days in 2023. So if we scroll down, the last time that it's traded in 2023 was March 10th and the 13th. And then if we look at 2022, it's traded 39 days. So whenever the market goes down quite a bit, then it buys the leveraged one. This one's done a little bit better than the S&P 500. And how do we use this with Chat GPT? So you have this symphony here. This one's already been created on Composer. You go to where it says save, the Save Changes button, and you see where it says copy Chat GPT prompt. You select that. Now you go to Chat GPT and you paste it. You paste it into here, and it's going to actually explain the trading strategy right now. It says here, this is a trading strategy written in the Composer programming language that is called Buy the Dips NASDAQ 100. It rebalances daily and is weight specified allocation of 100%. The strategy uses an if-else statement to determine which assets to buy. So it explains this whole thing for you. If the cumulative return of the NASDAQ 100 over the past 5 days is less than 5%, then the strategy will buy either the 3 times leveraged NASDAQ 100 ETF, TQQQ, or a short-term U.S. Treasury bond ETF, USFR, using the weight equal function. The choice between TQQQ and USFR depends on the cumulative return of TQQ over the past 1 day. If the cumulative return over the 1 day is greater than 1, then the strategy will buy USFR. Otherwise, it will buy TQQQ. So now you can actually, we can use Chat GPT to actually modify the strategy. You could ask Chat GPT to modify the script to replace USFR with SGov. So now it's going to modify the script. It's going to change. As you can see here, now it's changed it to SGov. So we could actually take this. Now if we wanted to go back, we select here where it says copy code, and we go back here and we hit draft new symphony. Then where it says paste Chat GPT schema, right here, we paste it. Now you can see that's automatically updated with SGov. Now we're going to ask Chat GPT to create a script. So create a Composer trading script that sorts through a group of stocks and selects the bottom 3 moving average stocks. Now I didn't give it any information as far as the date, what sort of moving average time period. So it's going to have to guess all of these things, and it's going to have to guess the stocks to select. So now it's creating the script. Now I've been feeding it scripts, and so it sort of learns as you feed it stuff. Okay, so now we can see that it selected Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, and PG. That's, I believe, is that Progressive? Okay, so let's see if this works. Sometimes it makes an error, so we're going to copy the code. You go to New Symphony, then you do paste. So this one actually worked. You can see it's all pasted in here. So they selected a 10-day moving average and the bottom 3. That's what Chat GPT selected. And we can select, it's set to weekly. Let's see how well it's performed. Oh, it's done pretty well, hasn't it? 447% return. This one traded 18 days in 2023, 52 days 2022. Okay, let's look at, and this is pretty, that's pretty decent because it's 3 stocks. It's not just one or two. So let's look at the 1 year. The 1 year it hasn't done so well, minus 26%. You can see right here it's tech stock, so not so well in this one. So we could go back and modify this if we wanted to. We can modify it in here, or we can do it in Chat GPT. Now we could actually ask Chat GPT to modify these also. Let's play around with this here. So modify the script to have only, okay, to replace the stocks with stocks that begin with the letter A. Okay, so now it's going to find tickers with the letter A. It selected Apple, ACN, Adobe, ADM. So this kind of gives us some ideas what you can play with. Okay, now let's do something else. Okay, now let's try to add founders in place. Founders in place stocks. So stocks with founders in place. I don't believe Microsoft or Google have founders in place anymore. And Twitter is out of date. Okay, so let's do add these stocks to the script. Script to include 10 stocks where the founder is in place. Okay, so it's adding Oracle. We've replaced the previous stocks with the new list of stocks. Add 10 founders in place stocks to this script. Okay, it looks like, there we go. Amazon, Facebook, Google, Tesla's there. Okay. It's showing Apple, but Steve Jobs is long gone. Google doesn't have their founders in place, I believe, anymore. Okay, but we got Tesla and PayPal. Elon Musk isn't in charge of that one anymore. It's not perfect. Now we can do another thing. We could say modify the script to include only tickers with 3 characters. Modify to include only 3 stocks with 3 characters. Okay, so now we should have tickers that are only 3 letters. Okay, there we go. Now I can also say modify the script to include only stocks with assets with market cap over 100 billion. No, we'll say 300 billion. This is probably out of date as far as the market cap. So you have Google, Apple, Nvidia, and it's actually found a market cap function that I wasn't aware of. Modify the script to include stocks that were added to the S&P 500 index in 2020. Okay, so you have Tesla's in there. Now let's do it to the stocks that were removed. So modify the script to include stocks that were removed from the S&P 500 in 2020. Okay, so there were 3 stocks that were removed apparently. Okay, now if you're just typing if you're just typing in stuff in here, if you're just typing create a script and you're not doing this training like I've been doing, and you're not feeding it these scripts, it's probably not going to give you the same results as what I have. After copying and pasting these scripts, you're sort of training as I understand, you're sort of training Chat GPT, and that's just for you pretty much, as I understand. So also when you start correcting the mistakes and you start creating the script, for example, this is the kind of data that I'm going to feed it to create a script. Now this is one initially that I'm feeding it because it doesn't know the order of the functions to use and the name. So I already fed it a script that was called sector rotation. And so I just you paste this thing in, it feeds it back to you, and it'll read what it does, what the script does, and you just sort of use the same wording, rehash it, and then ask it to create a script using that sort of wording. So I'm saying create a Composer trading script that does sector rotation and rebalances weekly. Check the price of SPY if it's greater than the 120-day moving average price, and select the bottom 3 sectors from, and then I have the ticker symbols. Using the select, see this is the thing, I'm using the actual function name that Composer uses. And filter functions and do equal weight allocations using the weight equal function, else select VOO. So now when I do this, it should actually create it properly. And I think after this, I may be able to create more of a dumbed down script, and you'll be able to see that it probably works. Okay, so let's see if this one works. This is how we know if it works. When you go to paste it, when you select copy code, and you go to New Symphony, paste Chat GPT. Oh, there we go. Unknown Composer Chat GPT indicator price. Okay, now a lot of things, I don't think these tags are properly closed. So what I'll say is, please clean up the code to have proper closing tags. Okay, now hopefully it should fix those ending tags. This is not the same script. Well, you know how Chat GPT works good sometimes, and then other times it misbehaves. So let's try this again. Let's see if Chat GPT can make a dummy script with limited information. So we're going to say create a Composer script that buys VOO low and sells high. Okay, so we're just going to give it the least amount of information. And we'll see if this one works. This one's definitely not going to work, as far as I know. Okay, so this one's not working. Composer script that balances equal weight between VOO and US QQQ. It should be able to get this one right. We're going to hit copy code. Okay, got this one right. You can see it pasted in here properly. So I think in order to train it properly, you've got to go from the top to the bottom up through the script. And you have to create something like this. Create a composer script that rebalances weekly. So you go through the script, and where it says like rebalance it, rebalance, it'll have these functions, and you'll say wait equal, and you list it out, and then you're kind of training it properly, I think. So create a composer script that rebalances weekly and has an equal weight. Add 10 stocks, and I didn't tell it which stocks to add, and select moving slash average return, and select slash bottom. Also add an if else function so that if RSI of QQQ is less than 24, TQQQ, otherwise USFR. I think that may work. Ah, there we go. Rebalance weekly. Nope, it didn't do it right. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, let's see if this works now. Add 10 stocks and sort by the lowest moving average return. We're going to say for 20 days. The lowest 20-day I think this is more specific now. I don't think this is going to work either. Oh, this one didn't work either. So I've been playing around with Chat GPT for several hours now. Now you can get it to create a composer script, but if your results are like mine, it's going to be touch and go. So sometimes it'll work perfectly, and then another time it'll be completely wrong. So here's an example. I typed create a composer script that rebalances weekly and does equal asset weight. Select a group of 10 large market cap stocks to add to a filter list. Then select the bottom two, which had the lowest 7-day cumulative return. Okay, now, so it selected the list, but then it has this thing here called let. And this was definitely going to cause a problem because that's not part of the composer thing. And then the bottom looks kind of weird here too. So what I wrote after this is I put remove let. Now, after I said remove let, then it removed that part. You see that let is gone. However, then it just threw in this if statement at the very bottom. So it remembered, I guess, that I pasted something like this earlier. This is a working script that I have, but it's definitely just something it threw in. So it said, I made a modification you requested earlier with the if statement. And it's like, I didn't even ask for that. As you see here, I didn't say anything about if. I just said remove let. Anyways, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's very easy to go into Composer and modify this. So this was the one that it just created that I created earlier. And if you have a problem, if you put it in here and it throws an error, it's probably that there's a ticker symbol that Chat GPT created, like Facebook, a chat or Twitter, that don't exist. So you just have to delete or change those tickers, and then it should solve the problem. But this is one I created earlier, so it just sorts from the list, 7-day cumulative return, it picks the bottom two, and then it also will look at the 6-day relative strength of QQQ. If it's less than 24, it selects TQQQ. Otherwise, it does USFR. And this one did pretty well, the performance. 22% return. Another thing you can, if you have questions, you can go to the Composer page. There's this resources page. Now there's a help section that has all the terms and stuff. If you go through the tutorials and the walkthrough, there's a bunch of tutorials here. There's the metrics, like the terms that are used. If you want to look at the terms in detail, it has all the stuff in detail, the different ratios and relative strength index. And then you can also look at, you can do ETF comparisons. You can look at a lot of these ETFs and do comparisons. So here's a ticker symbol. For Vanguard, you can see the expense ratio, the performance. You can compare all these different ETFs, or you can put in, I believe you can put in stocks too. And the nice thing about this is you can look at correlated ETFs, inversely correlated. So if you're trying to do some type of trading strategy, you can play around with that, related ETFs. So anyways, that's it. That's for my video for today. It's a little bit of a longer video. Make sure to click on the referral link. Sign up with Composer Pro. You'll get $50. You have to pay for the first month. The trial says 14 days, but I spoke to somebody at customer service and they said in order to get the referral bonus, or for you to get the referral bonus, you have to go through the full, you'd have to actually pay after the 14 days, the $30 a month. But then you're basically going to have, an extra 20. You could cancel it then. I hope you liked this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps